Hello again, my name is Lê, chairwoman of Lê and Associates. This is Dr. Jose Fokman, the co-founder and president of Zenger Fokman from the United States. In the first video clip, Joe shared the result of his research on leadership and how to develop leaders more efficiently. In this video, we will talk about leadership for sustainable business development. So let's start with the first question about the role of leadership in sustainable development, especially in the emerging countries like Vietnam in a global economy.
Well, what people think is that they have that great product or a low price, they're going to be successful. But in my view, the company that wins is the company that has talent.
Let's see.
If you have the best people, you will have the best product. You'll have a product that really differentiates itself from others. You'll have a product that can beat anybody because talent means success. And people are so focused on the product, but if you focus on getting the right people, the most talent, you'll win. And so change that mindset from product and from manufacturer machinery to saying, oh, those things are important, but we need talent. We need the best people, we need the brightest people, and we need leaders that can really make a difference.
So it seems leaders influence a lot to the outcome of the business.
What we found is that if you work for a really poor leader, your engagement's at the 20th percentile. Mm-hmm. You hate your job. You don't like coming to work. If you work for a great leader, your engagement's at the 80th percentile.
I see.
Not only that, but something we call discretionary effort is a really important variable. That's the willingness of you to do more in your job. And if a leader doesn't have this discretionary effort, they do the minimum amount of work to keep their job. But people with this discretionary effort give you 120%. You pay the same to the person that just does the minimum and the person that gives you 120%. You get 3 times the value out of the 120%. There's a correlation between the effectiveness of leaders and the number of employees that are willing to give you 120%. It goes up threefold.
I see. And I guess there might be some difference between the Asian and Western leaders. Any case study for Vietnamese leaders to learn from?
What we found is that Vietnam leaders are terrific. We found is smart. Mm-hmm. They're competent in their jobs. They focused on their education and their technical knowledge, but they're just learning the leadership skills. Here's the good news. You can learn those skills.
We tend to be not to show off yourself a lot because you can be considered as arrogant person. So that might be a problem, right?
Well, I don't want everybody to turn into Donald Trump here, okay? But what I would like to say is that we do find when we look at Asian leaders compared to our population, they tend to hold back a little bit. They are more resistant about being a champion for change, about taking a bold stand, this whole idea of bold leadership. And I don't think people need to be braggadocious, but I think having the courage to push your point of view, to take a position, to be a champion, it's important.
And from our observation of the clients we have been working with, so many have a very big gap between the first group of leaders and the middle line managers.
Yeah.
How can you fill the gap quickly?
Well, so here's like most of the things we do in life. When we need something, that's the point in time where we think about getting it, right? But what you need to do is think about developing employees sooner. It takes a few years to develop a skill. Now, if you wait until you make somebody a supervisor to start developing those skills, guess what? It's too late. You need them then. What we did is we just did a study where we were looking at technical professionals, and we looked at individual contributors and we looked at managers. What we found is the same set of skills that helped individual contributors be incredibly successful made the managers more successful. So training individual contributors isn't a lost, you don't lose money by doing that. It actually makes them more successful, but it also prepares them for the next position. We train people too late. We wait to do their development. Look, you've got great people there. Start to developing them earlier.
So starting from 0 day when they are on board?
Well, that's a good time to instill the culture and to talk to people about the values of the company. One of the skills that we find managers lack a lot of times is the skill of giving good feedback and coaching. And again, we would say, get that good manager, they'll get good feedback, and then pretty soon start challenging those individual contributors to raise the bar on their performance.
And negative feedback is a gift, as is said, right?
It often is, but sometimes what we know about negative feedback is that it causes us to, rather than learn from the feedback, to resent it. And so part of what we're teaching managers to do is to provide feedback in such a way that helps people really accept it.
So by doing so, the leaders of the company should create an atmosphere for coaching, feedback, and in general to raise the bar of leadership in organization. Can you share how to do it in a good way?
Well, most of us realize that the best way to do it is to be an example.
I see.
What we've just did a study on was the fact that if leaders were really effective, the next level leader was almost as effective. Here's the negative end of it. If leaders were really poor, the next level wasn't much better. We say that leadership is contagious. We know the flu's contagious and colds. Guess what? Leadership's contagious. It catches on in the organization. And that's one of the reasons why we think that it's important that senior leaders also get some development. Oftentimes I go into organizations and the senior leaders say, go fix those people. And I oftentimes look at them and say, you're part of those people.
I see. So starting from them.
Well, again, they can be a role model, they can get feedback, and when they do that, they set the tone for the organization to say development's important, feedback's important, even I will get some feedback.
So your philosophy is to develop leadership on the strength rather than on the weakness. But certainly fatal flaws are much more easily to recognize.
Yeah.
So let's discuss a little bit about the most common fatal flaw among Asian business leaders.
Well, we looked at the data, and what we found was it was this issue of sitting back. The most negative item for Asian leaders that's different from the norm is that they're not as willing to be a champion for things. They hold back a little bit. The other thing that's somewhat negative is this strategic perspective. Having a vision for the future, where we're going. We're so busy, head down, pushing hard, doing the job, that we don't sit back and say, where's the future? What's happening here? What do we need to do in the future to be competitive, and where we're headed, and help people see that.
I'm very curious about the article by Zhang Fengman on Forbes magazines about business women. Vietnamese women are also very proactive in business. How can more Vietnamese women engage and become the greater leaders?
When we looked at the data, we looked at the effectiveness of women versus men, and we found that women were significantly more effective on 13 of 16 competencies.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, men were more effective on 2.
Okay.
I call them the big 2.
Okay.
only because I'm insecure. But women were better on 13. And a lot of times people say, well, of course, they're nurturing, right? Well, those were some of the competencies they were better on, but they were also better on drives for results,
I see.
on honesty and integrity, on taking initiative. My wife recently told me, she said, the roof on the garage leaks. And I said, well, it kind of washes the cars. And she said, that's crazy. And then I looked at her and I said, you know, sometimes leaks fix themselves. When in the history of the world does that ever happen? Well, you can see the difference. My wife wants to get on this right away, and I'm sort of making excuses. That's that initiative. And women are much better at taking initiative and getting things done. Now, men, I think we need to learn from women. I think we need to watch them closely. But the other thing that I believe in organizations is you have a hidden talent pool. You may not see that a woman in your organization could be a great leader. And that's really our message here. It isn't to sort of separate men and women. It's to say, be aware that women can be great leaders as well as men.
Yeah, in fact, we realized that there's big leakage of business women leaders in Vietnam because a lot of pressure on them, family, kids, and glass ceiling too.
Yes.
Anyhow, we are trying to push for women business leaders.
Yeah, and our position here is we believe everybody can be a better leader. And some women are not very good leaders. We think they can be better. Some men are not very good leaders. We think they can be better. The secret here, the secret formula is we found developing a few strengths.
Yeah, thank you very much for your sharing.
It's great to be here, Lei. Thank you.
Thank you.